The year was 2332. Human colonies had reached many stars, and space was full of different alien species. Some were friendly, some were not. Among them, the Paraxians were one of the most powerful. Their world was hot. Their cities glowed like molten metal, and their people were strong like living fire. They were respected but also feared. Their skin burned like flame, and their culture was built on pride, strength, and tradition. At the heart of their empire was Princess Kayla. She was unlike other Paraxians. Her skin was bright like lava but soft in her heart. While her people believed in strength through war, Kayla believed in strength through unity. She wanted peace with other species, especially with humans. But her father, the Emperor, thought peace was a sign of weakness. He had already started preparing for war against the human colonies. Kayla knew war would bring nothing but pain. Her people were powerful, but humans were clever and brave. A war between them would turn the stars into ashes. So she decided to do something no Paraxian princess had ever done. She sent a secret message to the humans, asking to meet and talk. Captain Rylan Quinn was a respected officer in the United Earth Fleet. He had traveled through many dangerous zones, faced alien threats, and protected human colonies with courage. When the message from Princess Kayla reached Earth, it shocked many leaders. Some thought it was a trap. Others believed it was a chance for peace. After long discussions, they chose Rylan to go to the Paraxian world. He was brave, calm, and had a reputation for keeping his word. Rylan's ship crossed many star systems until it finally reached the Paraxian capital. From space, the world looked like a red star covered in rivers of glowing magma. Floating above it was the royal city, a massive structure of dark metal and fiery lights. It looked dangerous and beautiful at the same time. When he landed, he could feel the heat even inside his suit. Paraxians lived in temperatures that would burn most humans. As he walked through the city with guards escorting him, the air shimmered like waves of fire. The buildings were built of shining black stone, and streams of hot liquid metal flowed through channels like rivers. Finally, he entered the royal palace. It was a giant hall with fire pillars rising toward the ceiling. At the end of the hall sat Princess Kayla, dressed in flowing garments of gold and red. Her skin glowed softly like a sunset on fire. She stood up slowly as Rylan walked closer, her eyes burning like stars. For a moment, everything around them felt quiet. "You are the human captain," Kayla said in a clear voice. "The one who came when others were afraid." Rylan nodded. "Yes, I am Captain Quinn. I came to hear what you have to say." Kayla studied him carefully. Humans were smaller than Paraxians, softer, and far more vulnerable to heat. Yet he stood straight and firm, not afraid of the fire around him. She respected that. They walked through the glowing palace gardens. The trees were made of black crystal, and their leaves burned like tiny flames. Kayla spoke of the coming war, of how her father believed humanity was growing too fast and too strong. "He thinks war will keep our people in power," she said. "But I believe war will destroy everything." Rylan listened. "Then why speak to me?" he asked. "Because you humans fight with your minds as well as your strength," she said. "You build, you create, and you unite. I believe if you and I can work together, we can stop this war." Rylan didn't trust easily, but something about her voice felt real. She was risking everything by talking to him. If the Emperor found out, she could lose everything she had. As they talked more, Rylan saw that Kayla was not just a princess. She was a leader who wanted to protect her people and also protect others. She was brave in a way that reminded him of old stories of human heroes, but not everyone in the palace agreed with Kayla. In the shadows, members of the Paraxian High Council whispered their anger. They believed humans were weak. They hated the idea of peace. They planned to make sure this meeting failed. The next day, Kayla invited Rylan to a gathering of the royal court. It was a dangerous step. Many Paraxian nobles were there, staring at him like a predator looking at prey. The Emperor sat on his throne, a giant figure with burning skin. His voice echoed like thunder. "So this is the human who came to speak of peace," he said. Rylan felt the heat increase. The Emperor's eyes were sharp. Every word could turn into a challenge. But Kayla stood beside Rylan, calm and strong. "My father," she said, "this war will bring nothing but loss. If we fight humans, both our worlds will burn." The Emperor laughed. "You think humans can defeat Paraxians?" "I think no one wins in war," Kayla answered. The court murmured in shock. It was rare for anyone, even the princess, to challenge the Emperor like this. Rylan stayed silent but stood firm. He knew any wrong word could make the situation worse. The Emperor did not give an answer. He simply said, "We shall see," and ended the meeting. But Kayla knew the council would not stay quiet. Things were moving fast and danger was growing. That night, Kayla and Rylan met in the quiet garden again. The glowing trees lit their faces softly. Rylan could see the weight on her shoulders. She was fighting not just against her father's will, but also against centuries of Pyraxian pride. "You took a risk speaking like that today," Rylan said. Kayla looked at him. "Peace is always a risk. But so is war. I will not let my people fall into darkness." "You're brave," Rylan said. She gave a small smile. "And you're strange. No human has ever stood in our court like you did. Most would have trembled." "Maybe I'm just too stubborn," he replied. For a long moment they looked at each other. There was something unspoken between them, an understanding that crossed the lines of species and history. But far away, in a hidden chamber of the palace, members of the High Council were making their own plans. "The princess has gone too far," one of them hissed. "If we let her continue, she will weaken the empire. We must end this alliance before it begins," another whispered. They planned to force Kyla to abandon her path or remove her from power. Rylan and Kayla had little idea how close the danger was. The next day, Kayla showed Rylan the Pyraxian archives, giant halls full of glowing crystals that stored their history. She spoke about how long their species had lived in war and fire. "We were born in flame," she said, touching a glowing wall. "We believed strength was the only way to survive. But maybe strength can also be used to protect, not destroy." Rylan felt a strange warmth, not just from the heat, but from her words. He saw that Kayla was different from the others, and she saw in him a human who did not see her as a monster. They returned to the palace balcony. The fiery sky stretched above them, and the wind carried waves of heat. Rylan turned to her. "Kayla, if your father refuses peace, what will you do?" She looked into the distance. "Then I will fight, not to destroy humans, but to protect a future where both our peoples can live." The stars reflected in her fiery eyes. Rylan knew at that moment that this princess was unlike anyone he had ever met. Without thinking too much, he stepped closer. She felt the heat rise, but she did not step back. He could feel the fire radiating from her skin, but instead of fear, there was calm between them. Then in one bold and unexpected moment, Rylan gently kissed her. The air shimmered like the heart of a star. Kayla's fiery skin glowed brighter, but she didn't pull away. For her, no one had ever dared to get this close without fear. For him, it was not just a kiss, it was a promise. A promise that he would stand by her, even against the fire of an empire. Somewhere in the palace, the High Council made their move. But in that brief moment on the balcony, something powerful was born between them. Trust, courage, and hope. The galaxy had no idea that a single kiss could change the fate of two worlds. The kiss between Captain Rylan Quinn and Princess Kayla changed everything. It was not only a bold act, but a spark that carried hope. No human had ever come so close to a Pyraxian royal, and no Pyraxian princess had ever allowed it. It was more than affection, it was trust. But outside the quiet balcony, the galaxy was still full of fear, pride, and danger. The High Council of Pyraxia gathered in secret chambers beneath the palace. Their faces burned with anger. "The princess is forgetting who we are," one counselor said. "A Pyraxian does not make peace with humans. A Pyraxian rules," another added. "She has become weak. We must protect the empire even if we must act against her." Their plan was simple and cruel. They would turn the people against Kayla. They would make her look like a traitor. If she failed to gain support, she would lose her power and the emperor would crush the humans without a second thought. But Kayla had already made her choice. She wanted peace even if the path was dangerous. The next morning, Rylan walked into the palace's great war hall. Giant red banners hung from the ceiling, and fire burned in tall crystal stands. Hundreds of Pyraxian leaders filled the space. Kayla stood in the center, wearing a royal robe of glowing red silk. She looked calm, but inside her heart was racing. The emperor rose from his throne. His voice was deep and powerful. "My daughter believes that humans can be trusted. She believes peace is stronger than war. But our people have always ruled through fire. If humans grow strong, they will challenge us. Why should we trust them?" The hall was silent for a moment. Then murmurs spread like heat waves. Rylan stepped forward. Every Paraxian eye turned toward him. His human body was fragile compared to theirs, but he did not step back. Because, he said in a steady voice, humans do not want your world. We want to live and grow just like you. If we fight, both of us will burn. If we work together, both of us can rise higher. His words echoed in the hall. Some Paraxians hissed in anger. Others listened carefully. Kayla lifted her hand.
Father, she said, if we keep fighting, we will destroy everything our ancestors built.
But if we choose peace, we will build something greater. The Emperor stared at his daughter for a long time. Then he said, very well. If you believe in this human, prove it. There will be a summit. If humans can show their strength without war, we may talk. But if they fail, the war begins. That night, Kayla and Rylan stood by the glowing balcony again. The air was hot but calm. This summit is your chance, she said softly. But if anything goes wrong, war will start. My people are proud. They do not trust easily. Rylan nodded. Then I'll give them a reason to trust. Not through fear. Through unity. She looked at him closely, her fiery skin glowing softly in the night light. You are strange, human, she whispered. But maybe that is what we need. He smiled. Maybe strange is good. 3 days later, ships from both sides met at a neutral station in space, a shining ring orbiting a cold star. The summit would decide the future. On one side of the station arrived the Pyraxian fleet, their ships glowing like fire. On the other came the human fleet, sleek and silver. Inside the station, guards and diplomats filled the halls. Kayla entered with her royal council. She wore armor instead of a robe, symbolizing strength. Rylan walked beside her in his navy blue uniform. The two of them walking side by side made everyone whisper. But what Kayla and Rylan did not know was that the High Council had already sent spies into the station. They planned to cause chaos during the summit. If they could make humans and Paraxians fight, peace would fail. The talks began in a wide chamber with transparent walls. Outside, the cold star shone in the darkness. The Emperor sat on one side with the High Council around him. Human leaders sat on the other side. Rylan stood near the center with Kayla. A human ambassador spoke first. We did not come here to fight, she said. We came here to build a future where our children don't have to fear war. The Emperor listened without speaking. Then Kayla spoke. Her voice was clear and strong. For too long we have lived in fire. We have believed only strength matters. But strength is not only for war. Strength can also protect peace. Some counselors shifted uncomfortably. Others whispered in anger. But as the talks continued, something strange began to happen. Some Paraxian generals started to ask questions. They were curious. Could humans truly be allies? Could peace really protect their empire better than war? Then suddenly the lights went out. The alarms blared. Red signals filled the room. Attack! Someone shouted. Explosions shook the station. Rylan grabbed Kayla's arm and pulled her down as a blast tore through the hallway outside. Soldiers rushed in every direction. The High Council's plan had started. Spies had planted small explosive devices inside the station. They wanted both sides to blame each other. As smoke filled the air, Paraxian guards pointed their weapons at humans. Human soldiers raised their guns in return. In seconds, the summit of peace turned into the edge of war. Kayla shouted, "Stop! Everyone, stand down!" But no one listened. Fear and anger moved faster than words. Rylan looked at her. We have to show them the truth, he said. She nodded. The council. They knew who was behind it. Together, they ran through the smoky hallways. Flames burned in some sections of the station. Rylan's human body struggled against the heat, but Kayla slowed the fire with her control. Her skin glowed brighter as she absorbed the heat around them, making a safe path. In the control room, they found the council's agents trying to override the systems. Rylan and Kayla moved fast. Rylan jumped to the panel, pulling out wires to stop the hack. Kayla used her fiery power to block the exits with glowing walls of heat. One of the agents shouted, "The princess has betrayed us." Kayla's eyes blazed. "I am not betraying Paraxia," she said. "I am saving it." With a powerful wave of her hand, she shut down their devices. Rylan activated the station's speakers. "All forces." His voice rang out through the halls. "This is Captain Rylan Quinn. This attack is not from humans or Paraxians. It's a trap made by those who fear peace. Stand down. Do not fight." The message spread fast. Confused soldiers on both sides lowered their weapons. The Emperor himself heard it. He looked around at the chaos, at his people fighting a war they didn't understand. Slowly, the tide began to change, but the High Council was not ready to give up. Their leader, a tall Paraxian named Varric, stepped forward in the control room. "You think a human can save us?" he growled. "You think peace is stronger than fire?" Kyla stood tall. "Yes," she said. "Because fire destroys, but it can also protect. It can give light. It can warm. We can be more than what we were." Varric charged at them, but Kayla blocked him with a wall of flame. Rylan helped her shut down the last system that could start the attack again. Outside the control room, Paraxian and human soldiers began to work together to repair the damage. For the first time in history, the two sides fought not against each other, but side by side. Hours later, the fires were gone, the alarms were silent, and the summit was back in order. This time, no one interrupted. The Emperor looked at his daughter. For the first time, he saw not just a princess, but a leader. He stood slowly. "You have done what I thought impossible," he said. "You made humans and Paraxians fight together. You showed me strength without war." Kayla bowed her head slightly. "The galaxy is big, Father. We can rule by fear, or we can lead by unity." The Emperor turned to the human leaders. "Then let us lead together." The room filled with a quiet shock. Generals who once wanted war now watched history change in front of their eyes. Later that night, Kayla and Rylan stood again beneath the stars, this time outside the station. The fleets of both sides floated calmly, no longer aiming weapons at each other. "You changed everything today," Rylan said. Kayla shook her head. "We changed it, together." He smiled. "Do you think your people will accept humans?" "Not right away," she said softly. "But fire does not turn gentle in a single night. It takes time to burn away the old and build something new." They stood in silence for a moment, looking at the stars. Then Kayla said, "When you kissed me on the balcony, you broke every rule my people had. But maybe breaking rules is how change begins." Rylan laughed softly. "Maybe." She stepped closer, the glow of her skin warm but calm. They didn't need words. Their bond had already spoken louder than anything else. Weeks later, a new treaty was signed. Humans and Paraxians began to work together, building a council for peace and trade. There were still challenges, but something had changed forever. The kiss that had once been a bold act had become a symbol of hope across the stars. Songs were written about it. Stories were told of the fiery princess and the daring human who faced a galaxy full of fear and chose trust instead. And high above the stars, Princess Kayla and Captain Rylan Quinn looked forward to a future where fire did not burn everything down, but lit the way forward.